Introducing health and wellness advocate, veteran international real estate investment expert, author and speaker, Adiel Gorel.
Health tips, fitness tips, nutrition and well-being, world-class experts, all right here on my podcast, The Adiel Gorel Show. Hi there, and it's my great pleasure to have Jonathan and Andi Goldman on the meeting, on this Zoom meeting today. I have been very fascinated by the material that they cover. And of course, they cover a lot more than just this book that I want to talk about today. But just in brief, Jonathan Goldman is an internationally renowned writer, musician, and teacher. He's an authority on sound healing and a pioneer in the field of harmonics. Jonathan is the author of several books, including The 7 Secrets of Sound Healing. The 7 Secrets of Sound Healing. Andi Goldman is a licensed psychotherapist specializing in holistic counseling and sound therapy. She is the director of the Healing Sounds Seminars and co-director of the Sound Healers Association. She is a musician, a teacher, sound healer, and an award-winning author and the wife and partner of Jonathan Goldman. Now, the reason, Jonathan, and Andi Goldman have co-written Chakra Frequencies, which was the winner of the Visionary Award for Best Alternative Health Book of the Year, and their new best-selling, The Humming Effect, which has just won the 2018 Gold Visionary Award for Best Health and Healing Book. So that is the book that I read, and this is what drove me to want to meet with you. And I'm very thankful that you made the time to meet with us, because not only in a selfish way, I think this is going to be extremely useful and beneficial for me, but I know it's going to be extremely useful, and beneficial to our members, listeners, viewers. So I'm going to jump right into it. So Jonathan and Andi, how did you get into this field? How did it all start?
You go first.
Adiel, I started about 40 years ago from a background in playing actually rock and roll music. I was playing in a club in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, strapped on my guitar and began playing and singing with this group. And I became aware, and this is right around 1980, that the music that I was creating was helping induce an ambiance of negativity and violence. And mind you, I had basically been performing professionally for about 15 years before that. And I had this thought, wow, what if music can be used to make people feel good? And that thought just shifted a little bit. It became, what if sound can be used to heal? And way back then, not too much knowledge or information about that. So I made it my life's purpose. And I basically got a master's degree from Lesley University researching the uses of sound music for healing. Started the Sound Healers Association. Took my record company and made it a therapeutic music label. And then I met this lovely being, and life has continued to be great.
Adiel, we have been working together for about 25 years. And I became involved with sound healing. As a holistic psychotherapist, I used a lot of expressive modalities with my clients. So sound and sound healing was really a natural segue for me to incorporate into my practice. And we've been working together ever since. And we thought, how can we combine our work, and what can we do to, highlight Jonathan's pioneering work in sound, my background as a therapist. And so we decided to write a book, which the first one you mentioned, Chakra Frequencies, and then our second book is the one that you're talking about, you wanted to talk about today, called The Humming Effect. So I'm delighted to have had these opportunities.
Well, I'm delighted that you guys are here. And of course, we'll talk about the chakras a little bit later. but I'll start with some of the stuff that we can start from the very beginning. What's the difference between sound and music, and why is that important?
Well, from our perspective, of course, any sound can be perceived as being music, and any music can be perceived as being a sound. But really, many times when we're working, particularly with using our voice, and as we're going to be talking about the hum or other tones, you basically are dealing with basically a single tone that doesn't change or vary too much. And for a lot of people, that is not music. So I try to differentiate between them, because otherwise they're going to be expecting to listen to Beethoven or the Beatles, and instead of somebody going, or something like that, and you go, okay, well, so this is sound, which is if you like, a frequency, or frequencies that don't modulate too much or change or shift. And that's where the importance lies.
And of course, the way that we work with sound, it is definitely not performance modality. And actually, anyone who has a voice, which we all do, has the capability of working with sound in a therapeutic way.
Well, thank you for that. And so I know, and from your book, of course, but why don't we get this? How can sound be used to heal and transform?
Okay, well, there are two basic levels of using sound for healing. One is called, and transformation, one is called psychoacoustics. That is where the sound goes into your ear, goes into your brain, affects your nervous system, your heart rate, your respirations, your brain waves. It's very, very powerful and very effective. And whether we're listening to music or whether we're listening to the voice, these are all things that affect us on a level, if you like, the nervous system, of course, our heart rate, our respiration, and they're great tools to be useful of and conscious of when you're trying to assist somebody, because just as you can chill and heal and calm someone down with your voice, you can also do the opposite. So we're always constantly telling people to be really conscious about how the voice and other aspects of things that you listen to work.
Right, and another way that we can incorporate sound is through what we call vibroacoustics. And that is where the sound goes directly into the body. And that's where we'll talk a lot about the effects of humming, because that is just really going directly into the cellular level. And as Jonathan was mentioning, when we are using our voice, there are so many psychological, physiological benefits that he mentioned. You know, our heart rate is lowered, our melatonin is released, oxytocin. There are so many physiological benefits, and that all equates to de-stressing and bringing in balance and healing.
Well, specifically humming. So we talked about sound. How is humming as a specific way of, making sound? I can feel it when I do it, but still, I'd like to hear from you guys.
Can we backtrack for just a minute of why did we choose humming?
Yes.
Because Adiel, I've been in this field for 40 years, and I've worked with extremely extensive mantras, extremely powerful divine name sounds, everything from tuning forks to, yes, I am a trained musician. I've been nominated for a Grammy, all this other stuff. But what we have found as we've taught, that so many people perceive of when we say sound healing, they think that they need a degree in being a musician or needing to be a trained vocalist or something like that. And so we were saying, okay, what is a sound that everyone can make, that nobody is judgmental about, nobody is has fear of doing? We looked at each other and we went, We said, okay, the hum. So we decided to write a book on the hum, and this is actually the world's first professionally published book on the hum, called The Humming Effect. And we said, okay, well, first of all, we need people to take this seriously. We knew it was real, knew it was powerful, so we have to make the first chapter about what is called peer review, or scientific and medical, if you like, data on the physiological effects of humming. And so that was our first chapter. And then when people would read that, and they would go, wow, you get, not only lowered blood pressure, lowered heart rate, but you get the release of nitric oxide, which I want to talk about later, and melatonin and oxytocin, all this other stuff. People go, well, this is real. Let's take this the next step and see where that goes.
Well, and also, Adiel, we like to call it conscious humming, because humming is something obviously that we can all do. We've done since we were babies. We will continue to do, on into elderhood. And it's such a simple thing. It's like, wait a minute, why is humming so important, effective? And so we call it conscious humming, and we have a lot of layers of information that we share so that people really are able to, like you just said, feel it. You can feel it in your body. Yeah.
Well, even as part of our discussion, I mean, this would be a point for me to say, right off the bat. So, I mean, can you tell us, about the physical effect that we experience when we hum?
Okay, so this is very, very important and very, very, it's wonderful, first of all, because among other things, if you take a couple of nice deep breaths, and it's always really good. You mentioned that you had interviewed some people about the power of breath. And so obviously taking nice deep breaths, slow deep breaths is really mandatory if you're going to be doing anything. But then the next adjacent thing that you want to do, okay, you close your lips and you will do a hum. And when that happens, you immediately, within just a couple of hums, you get a reduction of your heart rate and your blood pressure. And not only obviously your respiration, your breathing, and to levels where it's almost as though you've taken a pharmaceutical to calm down. So that, for example, if somebody's got a meeting or they've got some sort of stressful situation, taking a few deep breaths and then doing some conscious humming can really be profoundly powerful. And it's the first thing, without even talking about more of the other things that we're going to be talking about, but the fact that you get, and part of this is due to this thing called the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in the body. And you get something called vagal tone, and humming really increases vagal tone. And that, if you like, is the gold bar for being relaxed and chilled out. So, and I think nowadays in particular, we need to be, shall we say, chilled out more than ever because there's so many things going on. So just doing some conscious humming on that level is really good. And some other things, Andi?
Well, one of the, my background as a psychotherapist, of course, helping people to go into balance, helping people to de-stress. They would come to me and I would say, my main goal is to help you so you can fire, you can be out in the world without the help of a therapist. Okay, this is where sound and humming comes into play, because you can be your own therapist. You have that power within yourself to bring yourself into alignment. And just through the simple act of conscious humming, you are able to release a lot of stress. And we do know that right now in our current culture with the pandemic and with all the stress related to that, something as simple as humming can be such a, go-to help for many, many people. So.
Well, we talk about the vagus nerve, and there's certain activities where it kind of throws you into the parasympathetic, which you can feel. Does humming do that?
Humming
Absolutely.
is perhaps the most effective tool for creating vagal tone, believe it or not. It's really an amazing phenomenon. In fact, there are people who have really focused on that as being, if you like, the key element of humming is the fact that it produces what is called vagal tone, and you get increased heart rate variability, which is very, very important. So and humming is perhaps numero uno in terms of the things that can help, if you like, increase heart rate variability and cause relaxation and stress reduction.
So, we talked a little bit about the physiological effect, the physical effect. What about, the psychological effects? We talked about a little, but if you can say some more.
Well, the psychological effects are so interrelated with the physical benefits because, when we're all stressed out and anxious and angry and, there's so many emotions, that energy in motion that is difficult to handle. It throws our emotional body way out of whack. And so through humming, from a psychological perspective, you are able to come into that place of balance internally. And when you're in that, and it helps to quiet the mind. And of course, we know through meditation techniques, etc., quieting the mind is so helpful for that emotional body of ours that really is constantly knocking on, I'm going to put you out of balance. I'll put you right back in.
Adiel, I do want to mention, in terms of the physiological benefits, there are a couple of other things that are extremely important that we haven't mentioned. I'd like to share with you and your audience. One of them is the release of melatonin, which of course is wonderful to enhance not only production of sleep, but melatonin is an antiviral agent, so very cool. But also the release of nitric oxide, which is getting a whole lot of press and advertising these days, and everywhere I'm looking, it's increasing nitric oxide. Well, humming increases nitric oxide. Nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator, and it is also a very powerful antiviral agent. So when you hum, you're able to actually, shall we say, help enhance your immune system. And there are doctors that we know of who help people to hum, particularly if they feel that they're sort of in any sort of imbalance, because humming seems to cause the release of these antiviral agents that, particularly in the nasal cavity, which are a lot of nasty critters these days are lodging in. And whether it's sinusitis or other problems, if you start humming and nasally humming, you can literally take care of that. We've gotten emails, we know people who have had hundreds and hundreds of cases of treating sinusitis, for example, with humming.
I mean, something that I heard is when we simply breathe through the nose alone, instead of the mouth, we generate a certain amount of nitric oxide. But I saw a study that said with humming, it can be up to 15 times as much.
That's right. That's right.
That's very impressive. Is it because of, the vibration of the whole space over there?
Right. We think, for the most part, that what is happening is you're having a sonic massage, and particularly when you're, resonating the nasal cavity, that it's causing the stimulation of various, various parts of your nose, and actually, I think your entire body. Ultimately, this will be shown to be true. So you get the release of nitric oxide, and through humming. Here's one. Here's a little fun game. Can we play a little fun game with you for just a moment?
Please.
Okay. So, Adiel, would you hum? And of course, when you hum, you gotta hum with your lips closed. Otherwise, that's not an official hum. That's something else. Hum with your lips closed for a minute, and then pinch your nose, and let's see what happens.
While I hum?
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible, but I'll try.
You're right.
Nothing happens.
That's exactly right. So we say to people, okay, if you didn't know that, because most people don't know that, you say, do you think maybe there are things about the hum, other things that we, might be able to tell you about? And so we share that because, once again, you're getting the really powerful vibroacoustic vibrations in your, nose and your nasal cavity, and also within your brain, because the sound is obviously going upwards and it's vibrating part of the skull, and then actually literally going into the brain itself, which is an amazing phenomena. And one of the things that happens oftentimes when people begin to consciously hum is they become aware of where the sound is vibrating in their body. And it's an amazing shifting experience for them.
So I'm sorry, go ahead, please, Andy.
I was just going to say that, you know, as we talk about conscious humming, in that word conscious humming, we could also sort of insert the word intention. And intention is a big factor in having that sound really be effective. And I just have to share this great formula that my husband created back in the 80s, which is frequency plus intent equals healing. In other words, the sound coupled with that intention is what ends up happening to the heal, you know, for the body to heal.
So you kind of beat me to the punch, because the next thing that I was gonna mention is exactly that. I was very taken by the intention when you hum with intention, you know, the conscious humming. That's exactly, thank you. I mean, great minds and so, but that really kind of captivated me. I'm going to jump a little bit into a question that I was going to ask you a little bit later, but I'm very curious about it. So I'm going to bring it up right now. As I said, many of the people that are in my sphere are Silicon Valley researchers and engineers and managers. Almost by definition, these are the kind of people that don't have time to go to the bathroom. I mean, they're that busy. So when I was reading some of the ways to do the conscious humming, I went through, you know, the exercises, and very clearly it starts in a natural place of take some breaths in, calm down, do the humming for so many minutes, maybe 5, use your intention, even get into your intention. What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to heal your back pain? Do you want to go and then take another 5 minutes? I love it. But my question, and this I think is going to be very useful to a lot of people that I know, is it possible to get the benefits of humming, A, from a completely unstructured way of doing it? I'm talking about you're alone in an elevator, you're going to the 5th floor, you just hum, you don't measure, you just hum. You have a certain thing that you want to heal, and you have 3 minutes before a meeting, nobody's there, you hum with intention. You set your intention in a split second rather than, I mean, I understand that the best way is to take, but when people don't have the time, let's say somebody is in a busy day, still, they can say, okay, 1 second, I know what I want to do. I want to heal my lower back pain. 1 minute, I'm going to hum into my lower back. Is that useful?
Yes, yes. And it's hilarious because just before, I think I was doing some dishes or whatnot, and I was doing a little bit of, normally when we talk about humming, we suggest that you find yourself a place where you won't be disturbed. You sit up with your back straight, and you close your eyes, and you do humming for a few minutes, conscious humming. But there I was at the sink, and I had my eyes open, I'm humming, I'm going, you know, this makes me feel good. It's creating positive, beneficial effects. But, you know, so people often ask, is this as benefit? It's not as beneficial. Simply because there's other aspects of working with sound and working with the hum, working with your respiration that are perhaps enhanced by a longer focus of attention, longer breath, longer tone, but it is beneficial. Yes, it certainly is. And certainly it also, one of my, if you like, thoughts is that we are all unique vibratory beings. We're all a little bit different, Adiel. And because of that, some people can go, and do it like that, instantaneous. And other people need more time. And blessed be to everyone who does that. But yes, you can't hurt you. That's a wonderful thing about humming, is that it can't hurt you and can only enhance you. As our friend Dr. Bruce Lipton said, humming is a beautiful non-pharmaceutical way of increasing your health and wellness. What more can you want?
So how can humming be used for pain and stress reduction? Let's say somebody has back pain.
Okay, here is what I would say to that, because you want to set that intention. I want my back to feel better. I want this pain to dissipate. I want it to go away. What I might do is, close my eyes, take some nice deep breaths, and I might put my hands on the back of where my back is in pain. And then I would consciously intend my hum to go to that part of my body. And I would do that however long I could. You, like you were saying, you may be off to a meeting, you may have 1 minute, you may have 30 seconds, or you may be able to be at home and be in that pain so much that you have to just say, I'm going into another room and be there for a half hour if you want. But that's how I would recommend that type of thing. And Adiel, just as Jonathan was just giving a great description of being at the sink, 2 or 3 days ago, I had a headache, and right here, it was in this area. And I went into my meditation room, I sat down, I breathed, and I consciously imagined or visualized that hum going to that part of my head. And over time, 2 or 3 minutes, I don't remember now, but it helped it to dissipate. So it can be very effective.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that when I do these sounds for particularly self-healing, what I like to do is add the intention once again, always, if you can. And once again, you can do anything on the spur of the moment if you're rushing into an elevator, but better if you take a moment, and we all deserve 30 seconds or a minute of time devote to ourselves, and you focus your intention to do something, and as you're breathing, and what I like to do when I'm making a sound is also oftentimes encode a color that feels good to me. If I want to basically sedate something and cause it to be less, shall we say, in discomfort, I'll put in a blue or a greenish type of energy. I will sort of visualize that on the hum, on the sound of the hum vibrating and massaging myself. And if I wanted to be stimulated, I'll put in more of a red or orangey color into it. Those are visualization techniques, but they are enhanced and amplified by the power of the hum.
So, I mean, we're going to go into all of that and going down the body, but let me start simple. So far, as far as at least pain, we discussed the back, we discussed the head. There could be, the lower part of the body. Is there a certain tone that varies based on where, never mind, the chakras now, we'll talk about that in a second. But just as far as pain goes, do I use a different tone when I want it to go to my head, as you said, Andy, or a different tone when I want it to go to my knee? Or is it the same?
Okay, first of all, and also I want to say in terms of the reduction of pain, that when you hum, you get the release of endorphins, which are those natural pain relievers. So basically on a level, it could all be your head and your brain producing this, which is going throughout your body and going to where it's needed. So there is that physiological aspect. Then there's the other aspect of actually you're literally projecting the hum to a part of your body that is constricted, needs to has some blocked energy, needs to have the energy released through sound. And for myself, I can usually do a tone and slightly vary it, and just with my intention, I can move it from my head to my chest. I'll do an example for you, but at the same time, for other people, they might want to play around a little bit with pitch. So here is first me doing it, and I can do it because working with sound and with humming is cumulative. The more you do it, the more adept you are doing it, the more experienced you are doing it, the easier it is to work with it. So the first time you might be really moving around, but here's an example of me perhaps moving the head, the vibrations from my head to my heart area. So here we go. Now I know you couldn't hear any difference of the pitch, but with my intention, I moved it from here to here. I don't know if you could pick that up vibrationally or energetically, but for most people, it'd be something closer to. The lower pitch works there too. So I'm kind of good at humming these days, but for most people, moving around with the pitch is useful.
Because I couldn't hear very well, I'm going to try to replicate it in a primitive way on my end, and you'll tell me if this is what you meant. So if I go to the head, I kind of start off with a higher pitch, like, and then as I go down, maybe I go, but does it really have to correlate to the parts of the body, or it's just my feel?
In fact, it definitely doesn't have to correlate with the parts of the body, because I think the most important factor is that a person stays in their comfort zone when they are humming. Because if you're really forcing that hum, it's just not going to be as effective as if you just let it flow.
So talking about the comfort zone and everything, I was intrigued, very intrigued by, and we all have heard those monks go unbelievably low and guttural, and you refer to it in the book, and Jonathan was trying to get there, and then it's a fascinating, can you tell us about how you...
Story.
All right, Adiel, beautiful. This is in probably 85 or 86, and I was in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we had just recorded these Tibetan monks called the Gyume monks. And I took a record, it was the first time in history they'd ever been recorded. I'd taken this little cassette, you remember cassettes perhaps, maybe not. I took the cassette back to my meditation room, I fell asleep, and when I woke up the next morning, I went,
oh, I love it. I love it.
And hilariously, the Tibetan monks were on tour. They came back into the recording studio. And I was with the person who did the recording with me, and he also got the Tibetan deep voice. So the Rinpoche walks in the room with his translator, and we turn around and we go, and the Rinpoche says something to the translator, and the translator says to us, Rinpoche says, best in the West.
Well, I like it. So to get it, I just need to listen to a YouTube and then go to bed, or I might not be lucky.
Don't we wish?
I have to say that one of the things that we could safely say with this particular Jonathan getting it, it was a transmission, because normally it takes years and years to perfect the Tibetan deep voice. One of our dearest family friends was the chant master for the Dalai Lama, and we said, Kashi, how long did it take you? And he said, oh, about 10 years.
Yeah.
So Jonathan was a fortunate person to get that harmonically transmitted.
You won the humming battery.
He did.
Stay tuned for part 2 of this interview. Thank you for joining us today. I know you love what's coming next in part 2. Be sure to click the subscribe button for more videos.